Captain Peter Cutsey, South Korea, and this is my briefing room. Ready for pushback? I've just asked the first officer to get pushback clearance. We have received pushback clearance from ground control at this point down to the transponder, out on. And then the first officer will go up to the packs and turn the packs off after selecting the lower DU to engine display. Before we do that, let's just have a look at what the FCOM says. You should be aware of this. This is directly from your manual. I've highlighted things to make them easier to study. You should know the duty cycle, the normal duty cycle, and also the extended motoring time. The rest of the information is all important in what we're going to discuss very briefly in a supporting PowerPoint show. One thing I've highlighted here is for the first flight of the day at airport elevations higher than 2,000 feet MSL and a temperature of +5 or colder, you can consider or should consider selecting the ignition select switch to the boat position. If you've noticed, I've highlighted the first officer's and the captain's duties using Adobe Acrobat Pro, not changing the manual, but just making it easy to study. And I find it helps me to actually highlight things when I'm studying. I'm going to set the next procedure there ready for our next video. Let's get down now to the main menu on engine start procedure, and I've broken that down, and this is the supporting PowerPoint show. Pilot monitoring, first officer, select secondary engine indications, make sure the air conditioning packs are off, and then on the captain's command start, number 2 engine start switch ground. Verify N2 RPM increases, and when N1 rotation is seen and N2 is at 25% or minimum of 20% at max motoring, the captain will move the engine start lever to idle detent. Start his clock running for a 15-second count on an EGT indication, and the first officer start your clock running for motoring time if required later. The statement here is for the max. We'll get into that at a future briefing. At 56% N2 on the NG, verify that the engine start switch moves to off. If not, move the engine start switch off. Verify that the engine start valve alert extinguishes when the engine start switches move to off, and call starter cutout. If you notice, the engine start procedure, the normal engine start procedure, is silent except for the initial command by the captain of what engine to start, and then the first officer's comment when the start valve closes with the comment starter cutout. That's all it said. For this reason, you should be monitoring N1, N2, EGT, fuel flow, oil pressure for normal indications while the engine accelerates to a stable idle. Remember that the engine is at stable idle when the EGT start limit red line is no longer shown. All right, you do that for both engines. Let's get right into the start procedure. So flight deck to ground, go ahead, Captain. Parking brakes released, ready for pushback. Parking brakes confirmed, parking brakes released, commencing pushback, clear to start engines number 2 and 1. So in this process now, the first officer will go up and on my command of start engine number 2, we'll go up to the overhead panel. We ensured that the lower DU was in the displayed, engine parameters displayed. We'll go up and make sure that the packs are off. And they are, and if you notice, we've got 30 PSI, almost 30 PSI with the packs off, I should say, not auto. So we've got more than 30 PSI. And now you can come down and select the respective engine start switch to the ground position, and we will move down to the engine to observe the parameters as we are starting the engine. We do have, so pardon my, and we have 50 or 25%. So engine start lever, idle event, and the clocks are running. There's the red line limit we were talking about. And when it actually disappears, you know you've got a normal start, and we have a normal start. So now the captain can actually ask the first officer to go ahead and start engine number 1. And of course, the engine start switch did move to off, and the start valve open light did extinguish. So on his command, start number 1, and the valve light, he noticed the engine start valve open. We can see it there. And at 25%, we got to move down here quickly and move the engine start lever to the idle DDAD at 25%. A little cumbersome to work this software, but in any case, we will get it. And you've got the picture, pardon the expression, and clocks are running, and up to the upper DU. And at 56% N2, you'll notice that the start valve open light closes, indicating a normal start. There we have it. And the red line limit has disappeared. So we've had 2 good starts. Now in all of this, the maintenance man in the tractor would not have disturbed you. You see that you're actually stopped. Now you can address him and say, flight deck to ground. Go ahead, Captain. 2 good starts. Confirm, cleared to set parking brake. Push back complete, set parking brake. So at this point, the captain would set the parking brake. And just noticed something here. The auto throttle arm had clicked off before, so we've got it back. All right. So the parking brakes are released, and flight deck to ground, yes, go ahead. You're cleared to remove the pin, disconnect, and thank you for your pushback. So at this point, the ground personnel would advise pin removed, and we are standby for clearance. So they would move away from the airplane. What we're going to look at here now is we're going to look at 3 things. Everything's done in 3s. We want to make sure we see the tractor. We want to make sure we see the tow bar connected to the tractor. We want to see somebody holding all the pins waving to us. They're going to be off to one side, and when they've done that, and both the captain and the first officer have seen that, then we're happy with the fact that we can actually now proceed with the before taxi procedure. When all is cleared from the aircraft, the before taxi procedure. This concludes the engine start procedure. We'll terminate this video. Look for me in my next video, which will be the engine start procedure. Thank you.